Stop the cap.
A lot of people don't understand what structural oppression is or how it works. A lot of people, black people and white people, a lot of white people use it to, excuse racism and white supremacy most of the time. But then you also have another set of white people that they really believe in the whole idea of, powering your way through it, right? Hard work, gets rewarded. They still believe in the meritocracy, concept. And I think that a lot of people try to keep the meritocracy concept alive. And I don't think that the meritocracy concept is completely dead. However, I've seen the meritocracy concept weaponized, where like a hole is so deep that most people can't get out of it. And then they'll do this tokenism bullshit where they'll grab the one person that gets out, prop them up and say, see, if they can do it, you can do it, right? Even though it's virtually impossible for anybody else to get out of the situation as it was designed to be. A lot of black people, they do the whole Clarence Thomas thing where they're like, I'm not a victim, I'm not a victim, I'm not a victim, right? They like to throw that around. But I'm like, actually, you are the victim because you are the enemy. And there's a documented history of white people treating black people as the enemy. It always amazes me at how, like, there's like this belief, black people, the situation that they're in, and this is what white supremacy throws around. The situation that black people in is because of something that black people did. And that something that black people did is much greater than all the things that white people put in place, right? So they can do the redlining, the block busting, they can bulldoze your communities, they can, disrupt the connections and networks you have to other people, right? They can, block you out of particular opportunities. They see your face and they go, shut that down, right? Make sure all these things don't happen, which are going to affect, your community and your children and your family generationally, right? And then black people will look at that and still make the argument of, that you're supposed to be able to power through that. And powering through that is more important than the people that actually put up the roadblocks. And these aren't like little tiny, like, I remember when Amazing Lucas, he brought up the point about, somebody, you're riding down the road and somebody puts a boulder, on the road. And people focus on just drive around it, right? As opposed to having more focus on, but who put the boulder there? And why is the boulder there? And why can't we prevent the boulders from being there? Like if you're on like Route 76, right? I-76, right? It's literally on the side of a cliff. And it's like, I don't know whether that's granite or whatever, but you can see where they put up these nets to prevent the boulders from the side of the cliff, falling off and falling on the highway, which will jam the highway all the way up, right? They make sure that the boulders, it's the boulders are prevented from interfering with the traffic, right? It's a preventative measure. But there doesn't seem to be a preventative measure when we talk about racism and white supremacy and the system that they put in place, to keep black people, a permanent underclass. The focus always seems to be on the bottom of, you need to get around it. And personally, I think that's the wrong orientation, for the society itself. If we're going to talk about righteousness and justice and the sweet twinkle of white Jesus and Christianity, which again, all of it I think is bullshit, but people say they believe in these concepts. But all I see is a whole bunch of victim blaming. That's all I see. It's not like white people didn't do anything and then black people just fell to the bottom. As Dr. Hendrik Clark said, things that are inferior tend to fall to the bottom. They don't need further assistance. They don't need barriers. If the black people and their tiny Negro brains are so small, okay, so what's the problem if somebody qualifies, writes an essay, all this stuff, and gets into a university? Why do you got to keep the school exclusively white? Right? That went on for over 100 years. Right? After slavery, over 100 years. Have y'all ever seen John F. Kennedy's letter to get into Harvard? Have you seen his letter? Oh, y'all should read his letter. His letter is, hold on, let me pull it up. John F. Kennedy's Jr. Kennedy Jr. Hold on. Harvard letter. Harvard essay. Harvard letter. All right, hold on. Let's see. Where is it at? Where's his Harvard? No, not Harvard essay. Let me see. Revealing Harvard application essay. This is in the Atlantic. 2013. This is when this article was written. Where's it at? Come on. Why all this? You need to pay through this firewall in order to read this article. Here it is. The Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum has digitized version of Kennedy's 1935 Harvard application, which includes his grades and his response to the essay prompt. Why do you wish to come to Harvard? That's the question, right? That's how, most university applications, they'll have something to that. Why do you want to come to this university? What makes you a special or qualified applicant, right? Here's how the future president answered. The reasons that I have for wishing to go to Harvard are several. I feel that Harvard can give me a better background and a better liberal education than any other university. I have always wanted to go there, as I felt that it is not just another college, but is a university with something definite to offer. Then too, I would like to go to the same college as my father. To be a Harvard man, in quotes, is an inviolable distinction and one that I sincerely hope I shall attain. April 23rd, 1935, John F. Kennedy. That was his essay to get into Harvard, which he got in. That was his essay. But see, y'all want to talk about, hard work, you gotta hard work your way through it. You gotta hard work your way around. It's all about hard work, meritocracy. And here you got a legacy student right here. John F. Kennedy becomes president of the United States. I understand that the world, aspects of the world is not, it's not equal. Like people, even if we could eliminate racism, right? The people have different levels of discipline, and children born to disciplined parents inevitably would be in a better position than people who were born to parents that were not disciplined. People who set things up for their children would be, have an advantage over people who didn't set things up for their children. That's not what's being questioned here or examined here or put on trial here. No, what's being questioned here by me, what's being challenged here by me, are entire systems of inequality that whether you qualify or not is irrelevant, but it's based on who you are, not what you're capable of. It's based on whether you got the complexion for the connection as opposed to what your capability is. How many black men and black women were denied economic opportunities who qualified for these positions, more than qualified for these positions? And then we dive into the whole, black exceptionalism, where a black person has to be exceptional to meet a white person's level of mediocrity in order to get through the same door, right? This is what's, fucking up, Clarence Thomas's head. right? But like his classmate said, he was like, to blame it on affirmative action is retarded. Like, they weren't giving you the job 100 years prior, as a black man, and then all of a sudden, you're gonna say, oh, you didn't get that highfalutin job in New York because because your degree was tainted by the sting of affirmative action. Bullshit. Nah, they weren't gonna give you the job anyway. You went through all the hoops, he qualified and did all that, and they still wouldn't recognize it because they just weren't going to recognize it. And that's one of the things that black people don't get. You know what I mean? The goalpost moving that white people do. If there's too many of you, they're going to move the goalposts. If there's one of you and they want to silence the masses, the smart ones will take a token, and then throw them up and then be like, okay, thank God we don't have to worry about any more black people bitching about, the disparities, the racial disparities, for another, 5 years. That's what the smart ones do. They let a token through, but they're not going to let waves come through. I remember Captain Solo. He one time he went to the plant with his father, and he was talking about how his dad introduced him to a white man. And his dad was fucking with him. His dad didn't give a fuck. His dad was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, son, see this motherfucker right here? See this guy right here? Yeah, this is the guy that doesn't like to see young black men like yourself making money. This is the guy right here that feels some type of way anytime a young black man is up in here working his butt off, making damn good money. I mean, his dad just drove the point home about how racist this white guy was that worked in the General Motors plant alongside him, because he just did not care for the idea of a young black man being in there making money, working just as hard as everybody else. Because see, at the end of the day, what it's really about is about the money. It's not about hard work. It's about the money. See, money lets you do things. Money lets you move right next door. Money lets you pull a bitch that they want to pull, right? Money is a symbol of status, right? And as long as they can make sure that you don't have the money, then, they can feel better than you. And that's another thing, because somebody else, brought that up, a couple videos back about, white folks really just wanting to feel better than you. I mean, they want to feel better than somebody. Sometimes it's racial, sometimes it's intra-racial, within groups. If you look around, you'll see it. You talk about fixing any situation, they don't want it fixed because they want to feel better than other people, right? I mean, and you can see this when you look at like the way that, like, even like whether it's Andrew Tate, and I'm just using him as an example since everybody sees him visibly, but like the way he talks about his Bugatti. Right? Like something it's exclusive. It's rare. Why does it have to be exclusive and rare? Why do you have to have, one of one, one of 500? Why do you got to be, that guy, that person? Right? And so when you talk about fairness and justice and equality and all, no, they don't want people, even people who bust their ass off and work hard. As Amos Wilson said, if black kids in New York started getting straight A's all over the place and qualified for these positions very quickly in short order, you will start seeing white people just come out and say, these jobs is for white folks. Why don't you go over there and create your own opportunities? You see, but since a lot of black kids, are not focused, right? Because they're dealing with the conditions of poverty and the struggle, and they get distracted by other things, right? Because, we have all this, stuff that's thrown at us to keep us distracted. Oh, why don't you be a strapping mandingo? Here, we'll put you in porn. Look, you're getting bitches off of the strength of nothing, right? When they know it's about the money, right? So because the black boys don't get there, right? They're not even applying because they don't have the qualifications to apply, right? Then we don't have to have those nasty conversations about who these jobs really are for. Which goes back to what I posted the other day, the top 20 companies in America, the top 20 companies in America, only 2 of them have Asian Americans as CEOs, and those 2 are Indian American. They're not East Asian, right? Because they really had the East Asians as the face of that whole affirmative action, that whole affirmative action lawsuit, right? Where are the companies? I think I have it in here. Let me see if I have it in here. I know I pulled it up. Let's see. Is it coming up? Blah, 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 blah. Yep. Top CEOs. So we have, these are the top, what is this? Top 20 companies, right? CEOs, top US companies, top 20, right? So we got Apple, we got Tim Cook, we got Amazon, we got Andy Jassy, we got Microsoft Corporation, Satya Nadella, we got Alphabet, which is Google, we got Sundar Pichai, we got Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, JP Morgan Chase, we got Jamie Dimon, we got Johnson & Johnson, Alex Gorski, we got ExxonMobil, Darian W. Woods, Bank of America Corporation, Brian Moynihan, we got Verizon Communications, Hans Vesterberg, we got Walmart, Doug McMillan, AT&T Incorporated, John Stansky, we got Visa, Alfred F. Kelly Jr., we got Procter & Gamble, David S. Tyler, Intel Corporation, Patrick Gelsinger, Cisco Systems, we got Chuck Robbins, MasterCard Incorporated, we got Michael Maybach, and we got Pfizer, Alberta Bourla, and we got Coca-Cola Company, James Quincy. That's the top 20 companies, right? Asians score higher than white people on standardized tests, right? If it was truly a meritocracy, right, we should see Asians, right? We should see Asians in damn near leadership positions all over America. We should see Asians as CEOs, right? We should see Asians as politicians, right? We should see Asians as presidents of the United States, right? That's what we should see, since they're the smartest, since they got all the brain power. But that's not what we see. That's not what we see. Again, 2 on here. I don't know if Andy Jassy of Amazon is Indian or not. Let me Google Andy Jassy. Who is Andy Jassy? Might be another Indian. I don't know what the last name Jassy is. Andy Jassy. Was Andy Jassy? Nope. Andy Jassy is a white guy. Okay, so you get my point. And black people running around like there's some meritocracy to live up to, and here you got the people that it's been proven they score better on a standardized test, and yet they hit that bamboo ceiling. And y'all running around talking about, it's hard work, and they don't have to act like this and act like that. Again, why don't white people put their kids in the same environment? Why is it whenever they see an environment that's impoverished, an environment that lacks resources, even in the white community, and wealthy white people, that are sending their kids to private schools and bribing colleges to get their kids in, they're not, they're not trying to live around the white people in trailer parks. They're white, right? Shouldn't they share the same white culture, right? Shouldn't it not be a problem since civility is all about whiteness and it's in their precious white DNA, right? They should be able to raise their kids in the middle of Appalachia, and those kids should still come out and to be a Harvard man, right? See, they know it's about environment. They move into an area, how are the schools? Right? Or they send their kids to private school. How much does that cost? Or they go and they get their kids tutors. How much does that cost? Right? Let's face it, Harvard is not about people, being brilliant and learning, whatever they learn, at Harvard. It's not really about that. I'm not saying you don't have brilliant people and brilliant professors. Truth be told, there's a lot of shit, that is online, from Harvard. Harvard puts out a lot of free shit. It's over a lot of people's heads. You'd have to start at like 101 before you get to the more advanced courses. But Harvard is about networks. Harvard is about saying you went to Harvard, and other people go, you went to Harvard, and then it opens up doors and all that stuff. right? But even with the Asians that go to Harvard, I'm like, how come it's not equating to them being CEOs? We're all the East Asians, right? Why aren't they running shit? They got Harvard degrees. Like that's why it was so stupid with them and the undermining and undercutting of affirmative action. Because I'm like, if anybody needs affirmative action, quiet as is kept, it's Asian Americans. Again, I direct you to the leadership position. And it was so funny is there was something that was written about why the Asians didn't get in or something like that. And they said the same thing, which I already know, about how Asians are viewed. That they're just robots, that they have no personality, that they're not dynamic, that they're not adaptable. You know what I mean? They're just kind of like these machines that, are given information and they spit it right back out at you. Oh, very good. Very good. But can you adapt and can you think on the fly, right? That's what, and notice, like, that's something that's like really immeasurable. Right, that's something that kind of Americans pride themselves on, right? It's like a being American thing, right? It speaks to Asians' foreignness, right? That's how Asians are viewed in the West, that they're like robots and stuff like that, and they have no personality, and they all look the same, right? That's how they're viewed, right? This is even the whole thing. I was watching a documentary about militaries in the Middle East and how ineffective they were, and because they have this top-down chain of command, and you have the generals and lieutenants and leaders and whatever, that they can only maintain their position by having information that other people don't, and so they don't share the information, and the troops don't get the information, and they're the ones that are out there fighting in the field. But because they want to maintain their position, they withhold information, where the U.S. military operates a little bit differently, and each, Bravo team, Alpha team, Charlie team, they operate fairly independently. You know what I mean? Soldier, do you think you can go in there? It's your call. like that's the U.S. military. You know what I mean? They got a commander. He's on the ground. He's relaying back what the situation is. Right? The top brass, they can make chief decisions, but you get that, it's your call. It's your call, soldier. What do you want to do? And then you get the white guy with the raspy voice. We're going in. But make sure that LZ is what is it? The EZ or the evacuation zone is clear when we're getting out of there. Right? And there's always that one man that stays behind with the grenade. No, it has to be detonated manually. Right? Always doing that shit. But at least that's what they portray in the movies. Right? But I watched some of the military documentary, videos, and that's what they say, that's how they broke it down. There's a couple interesting videos. You just type in Arab militaries versus U.S. military and what the differences are. The videos will come up. But I just noticed a lot of people get caught up in this, like as though the what was actually implemented to keep black people down has no effect or little effect. You know how much energy was spent trying to make sure that black people stay down? Do you have any idea how much energy is spent? You know what I mean? And somehow you all think that the energy spent to keep black people down, it was less or is less than the energy that it would take for black people to get out. Oh, I hate to tell you. No, it's actually more, which is why you see the realities that you see today. It's designed that way. You can't, again, like I said, you can't behave your way out of redlining. The bank says, when I see a black face, say no. Or like Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase and everything, that they again recently have been caught with, charging black people with higher interest rates. Trying to think other things. that they do, aside from charging black people higher interest rates. The same thing with the redlining, with the not allowing people to have like home improvement loans and take out business loans and things like that, just based off of the fact that they're African American. I mean, friggin' Phil Scott recently did a video, had, some woman, I don't know whether she was Hispanic or Indian or something, and she just spilled the beans. She was like, we started to notice a pattern. We were looking at the shit, and it's like, yo, this black person more than qualifies, and yet the bank is treating them like they're a high risk person to, give loans to and invest in and all that other stuff. Right? Even though they qualify. Again, you can't behave your way out around the shit that you can't see. And it's always the black people that are the poorest that tend to think this way. It always fascinates me. You know what I mean? Like they really do believe in, a lot of them believe in the meritocracy. It's all about hard work. And I mean, this is what they've been told, it's what they've been sold. A lot of them want to believe in it because, if they didn't, there's a lot of people that would smoke themselves. Straight up. If you told them just how freaking virtually impossible upward mobility is. Other than being a token. And that's all they're going to be at best. It's not going to be armies of them. It's not going to be, me and my whole 5th grade class of black males, we made a pact that we're all going to be in such and such a position 15 years from now. Nah, that's not what you're going to see. You'll be lucky if 2 of them make it out. That's just the reality of the situation. Environment affects people. Lack of resources affects people. Even when it comes to like people talking about, you can pull shit up, online, you can do this and you can do that, and it depends. Yeah, a lot of people have cell phones. They can watch some stuff, on the cell phone. But there's a lot of people that when it comes to, I got to print these documents out, I got to do this, I got to, fill out this application, because that you can't do everything on the phone that you would need to do on a computer. Sometimes the shit doesn't even open up properly. You go on the computer, the whole format is different. You're on the phone, and the phone like you hit okay, enter, and then like the whole page refreshes and everything that you typed deleted. Right? That's why anytime you go, you see this even in the burbs. I go to the public library, and there's nothing but a bunch of black people in there, using those computers, filling out job applications, because they don't have the internet, they don't have Wi-Fi, Ethernet, right? They don't have a computer, so they're in the library, just filling out applications, trying to get opportunities and shit, trying to get jobs. I don't know what illusion people have, when they look at, the job market and talk about, there's 1,000,001 opportunities out here. Number one, as black people, you don't control those opportunities. And you don't control those opportunities, and those people, they're going to look out for themselves before they look out for you. Recently I heard somebody say they were giving somebody else advice, and they just said point blank period, when you see a residency and you don't see any black people in there and you see a whole bunch of Indians, don't even bother applying. Because the Indians, even if you had the same credentials as somebody else, they're going to look out for the Indians before they look out for you. That's just how it is. Whoever's on the board of directors and shit like that, that's just how the game is played. And unfortunately, black people are not in the position of decision makers. And from what I've seen, the really sad part, this is one of the things that really makes me have a lot of contempt for black boomers and black Gen Xers, is that a lot of times those that do get into a position, I mean, they're just appointed to basically be the token Negro, right? To basically be the, oh, we're so diverse, right? But they don't really have any power to make any decisions. And if they try to start doing things for black people, like openly and blatantly, then very quickly, they lose their position and they lose their spot. So they're just like window dressing. They're just there to, do a little soft shoe, do a little tap dance and everything. And then you'll have young black people that'll see them and be like, oh yeah, oh man, thank God. They're breathing a sigh of relief, thinking that this person's going to take them underneath the wing and get them to the next level. Wrong, like Charlie Murphy would say. Wrong. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to be up there. They're window dressing, and then again, if you have any sort of hiccup or come across any sort of issue, all they're going to do is say, oh, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. Like, they're just going to throw you underneath the bus. They're not going to stick their neck out there for you. They're not going to look out for you. Not the way that you'll see, and I've seen it, the way that the Indians, look out for theirs. You know what I mean? Like they go, think about it. Like, it's like they got a whole secret society. They go and, speak with each other in their own language, right? They can say things right in front of other people. Nobody knows what the fuck they talking about. And I mean, it's crazy. And again, when it comes to those Indians, they don't have any fucking guilt. They didn't enslave black people. They're like, we don't owe y'all niggas shit. So we over here trying to get ours in the system of white supremacy. We don't give a fuck about y'all. Y'all niggas been here for 300 years or 400 years or whatever. And if y'all can't, get past, the filters, then that's on y'all. And see, that the part of the problem is none of these people have had a nigga wake up call. They've been used as the model minorities against black people. But, again, now that we're out the picture because affirmative action has been, now the fun begins. Now they really going to see what time it is, right? Because before, right, they thinking, oh, because America owes black people, like Ann Coulter so eloquently and consistently points out, right, that somehow was a barrier to them, getting in the door, getting what they need and everything. But now that that's off the table, again, where is the meritocracy? We should see way more Asians and Indians in leadership positions. But we don't. Not in chief decision-making positions. Oh, there'll be middle managers. There'll be the underlings. They'll be the underbosses and shit like that, but they ain't running shit. Not as much as they should be. Based on, their skill sets and whatnot. But it always just, to get back on topic, it always kills me how, people really do not understand. And maybe, I don't know, there's so much information on YouTube. Like, when it came to, like, just the ways in which, like, it was like white people went out of their way to shut shit down. Out of their way to make sure shit, like even, who was the brother? Let me see. What was the Soul City? They had that white senator. I forget what his name was. Soul City. One of Floyd McKissick went about building a city from scratch, only to have his dreams dashed by a combination of prejudice and bureaucracy. I forget who the damn senator. I think it was North Carolina senator. But the motherfucker went out of his way to make sure that shit didn't happen. And that's why I say, when I look at white people and they bitching about getting robbed or carjacked, I'm like, nah, this is what you get. This is what you deserve. Because every time black people try to better themselves, right, because again, that dynamic of power, oh, we don't want them having power. Oh, they might retaliate. They might do a Nat Turner. Then we'll become the oppressed and they'll be the oppressors, right? They got this fear of black retaliation and black, reprisal, right? And so they always make it a point to make sure that black people, cannot empower themselves. But then what comes along with not being able to empower yourselves, right? You're disenfranchised, you're marginalized, you go without. You know what I mean? It always, I see these comments of these white people in the comment section, they're always talking about, the black kids, where are the parents? Parents can't do shit. If the parents are not gainfully employed, the parents cannot discipline their children. It's just like what we're talking about with Darius, Keke Palmer's dude, and how he, oh, you shouldn't be wearing that. Hey, motherfucker, you can't check her. She makes more money than you. You can't check her. You can't tell her shit. And you're not married to her. And you had a baby with her. You can't tell her shit. And if we understand that dynamic in relationships with men and women, why don't we understand that dynamic when it comes to parents and children? When a parent doesn't have shit to offer the child, and the child gets to an age where, they're mobile or they can, run around and do things illegally, they don't have to ask Ma Dukes for money anymore. I'm out here getting it in the streets. Once I go out here and get it in the streets, why do I need to listen to you anymore? And then that's where you typically see you need to get out of my house. That's when you typically see the parents kicking them out the house. Because they realize at that point they can't control the child anymore, because the child, has found a way to become, self-sufficient through illegal activity. So they always kill me with the parents and morality and Jesus and the Bible and the parents need to take control of the children. We need to hold the parents accountable. I'm like, you're not going to be able to hold the parents accountable for holding their children accountable when their parents don't have the resources to hold the children accountable. Just like that story that Cap told with the guy, he told his son, they got into a big argument, and the dad and Cap was always talking to the dude about getting his shit together. Dude didn't have his shit together, and he was like, "Oh, well, I'll cut you off." And the son turned and looked at his dad and said, "Cut me off from what, Dad? Cut me off from what? Where you gonna cut me off from? All the shit that you don't have, all the stuff that you didn't establish." There was a point in time where Cap, he almost, was on his path to getting married, almost. And there was a issue, and the woman's family didn't care for Cap, right? And Cap's father had made a statement about how, what do you say? Something about she can't come in this house if you can't go to her house or some shit like that. I forget exactly what the details were, but Cap had to politely inform his father that, yeah, her parents have a right to say what they're saying because they actually raised her. You didn't raise me. Because remember, Cap's father, after his mother cheated, his father just kind of shut down, despite the fact that he had a son out there. Shut down, never bought property, moved in with his sisters, lived on a futon. Again, Cap, 17 years old, had to join the military. Had to be signed off to join the military. So his father had no foundation. So his father was not in the position to tell him about how, what his expectations were of his son and what ground rules he was going to lay down. Wasn't in the position to do that. So, anytime people start talking about, the parents, I'm like, are these parents gainfully employed? Because if they're not, they have no control of the children. I don't even know why you suggest that. And then you get into the whole eugenics talk about, well, poor people shouldn't have children if they can't afford to have children. And then we can never have a discussion about people being gainfully employed and what that actually means and why that's important and why that's significant to, the formation and the maintenance of families. You can never have that conversation. You know what I mean? Like I don't really understand how people don't get how all these empty platitudes are used and weaponized against you. And what they're designed to do is get you to behave and fall in line and engage in codes of conduct without there being any tangibles there. They get you caught up in the spirituality of it. You know, it's the equivalent of the working is good for the soul, but I'm not going to pay you. Right? I get you caught up in working is good for the soul. I get you caught up in, you should want to do this because it's your passion, but I'm not going to compensate you for it. Right? It's your passion, right? Right? I mean, how much does work, being able to work in your true passion, how much does that actually cost? Right? You can't put a dollar amount on that. Right? See, that is weaponized against you. Right? I remember that woman on like Instagram, there's like a song about, it's like for all the artists, there's like this song about how much to pay for their art or something, because it took a whole lot of fucking work to do it or something, because people want to haggle the artist. You know what I mean? The artist says, hey, that painting's $500, and then somebody wants to haggle the artist down to nothing. I'm not paying for that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well then don't pay for it then. I wish I gotta find that song. I'm gonna see if I can find that song. You know what I mean? But a lot of y'all, y'all get caught up in these, I call them PragerU tricks. You know what I mean? These conservative type of tricks. Because, I mean, if you look at the standard of living in America, it has gone down. It has not gone up. It has gone down. The cost of everything has gone up. People have less than what they had in the past. And yet, you have all this rhetoric that, the real problem is people aren't working hard enough. People aren't this, that, and people are working harder than ever. And still can't make it. The average price of a home is $340,000, and the average income is somewhere between $52,000 and $56,000. And it's lower for black people. But yet, lack of personal responsibility, blah, 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 it's bullshit. It's bullshit. They've eliminated unions. The unions are virtually dead in the private sector. If you want to be a part of the union, you got to work for the government. And see, the government knows. The government itself, it knows. Last thing you want as a government is to have, people going against you as the government with all the sensitive information, everything else they got. And they're not, they're struggling. That's how you get dirty cops. People want to ask you, why are cops paid so much in such and such cities and whatnot? I'm like, they gotta be. You want a bunch of corrupt cops? Stop paying them motherfuckers. Make it real hard for them to survive out here, and you're gonna get a whole bunch of dirty cops. You need to have, a lot of these cops, after, a certain period of time, well into six figures. I'm not saying they gotta start there, but they gotta end there. Because if you don't, they come across, $5,000 worth of coke here, and a little bit of H here, and a little bit of marijuana there, and a little bit of drug money there. They're gonna start slipping. That's human nature. People are only as good as the world allows them to be. And I just don't know why people get caught in these psychological traps, especially black people. And then you get the black people to do the same thing as the white people, but just in a different context, where they want to feel better than other black people. Well, I did it. They want to feel better. They're the token. They're the one that got allowed to get through the cracks. And you notice they're always some cooning ass black person. Oh, they're so cool. They hate themselves. They hate other black people. Usually they're married over the fence. Like they're like the Brandon Tatums of the world. They just go hard in the paint against their own people, right? The Candace Owens of the world and shit like that. The Brandons of the world, right? You can smell them. You can see them and smell them from a mile away. And you're like, oh, I know what this is. Completely ignore the context of actual real black history. A lot of tethers do this. A lot of black people that, come from the continent that don't have the historical trauma until they get their nigga wake up call and shit. Why are you doing this to me? I'm one of you. Right. I love when they get the nigga wake up call. You know what I mean? Like it would be fantastic if Candace Owens was somewhere and somebody who just really wasn't paying attention. All they saw was, a black chick, and they decided to go out there and be extra, like these Karen videos and everything else, and she didn't even know how to handle it. Somebody who just isn't connected into the mainstream. I highly doubt that would happen now, because she's like all over the place. You know what I mean? But shit like that does happen. Y'all remember when that cop, the guy was what was he? He was like a corrections officer, and he was in the Walmart, and somebody like was running away from the cops, and they ran into Walmart, and he was just in the aisle, just shopping, and the cops came in there. They saw the first black man they saw. They tackled him to the ground, and he was on the ground. He was crying at the interview. After the whole thing was over, he was like, "I'm one of you." That type of shit. Yeah. I'm one of you. Like, nigga, did you get up this morning and look in the mirror? They don't view you like that. Just delusional shit. But it always just kills me how you get these black folks that they really do believe, that somehow the effort put into keeping black people marginalized is less than the effort that it takes for black people to get out of this. No, did I say that right? Less than the effort that it takes black people to get out of the situation. Right? Less than the effort less than the effort that it takes for black people to get out of the situation. I'm like, no, they actually put more effort into that. And that's why it's so difficult to get out of the situation. And then just the last thing I want to say is, like, just imagine if these people that didn't have to get it out the mud and do all this, crazy shit, right? Just imagine if they didn't have to go through all that, right? These people that are just super driven. Imagine if they didn't have to go through all that. Now, there's drawbacks with people who grow up with silver spoons in their mouths and they're not as motivated and shit like that. That does go on. Again, here's another, psychological weapon that's used, as aside from the, follow your passion and, working is good for the soul. You also have the struggle builds character arguments. Struggle builds character, right? It's trying to justify, the pain and the suffering, and, they try to come with this sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger, no pain, no gain type of shit, right? And there's some element of truth to that. Right? But again, I mean, if that was the case, if it was all, struggle builds character, okay, why don't white people just take their white kids and just, after school, drive from the suburbs into the inner city and just drop them off in the black community? You know what I mean? Just drop them off in the hood. Right? Like, there's some times where, like, that's applicable. Like, I remember this white guy, he used to always take his kids to the basketball court. Like, his kid was like, a decent basketball player. He wanted him to get a scholarship. White guy. And he did get the scholarship, and he did play basketball. But his dad used to always take him to the hood to play basketball. You know what I mean? Like, anywhere where there was like a hoop and black people playing, that's where he would take. He wasn't taking his son and having his son play with white folks. No. You know what I mean? Like, he had to go and play with the black folks, because, black folks was out there, doing windmills and dunking from behind the head. You know what I mean? Spiking the ball through the hoop. You know what I mean? Shit make the stank face and everything. Yeah, that's what he wanted. And his son eventually got to a point where he could dunk. He was, jumping out the gym and whatnot. Not like these white guys that you see now on Instagram. These white guys now, they must have taken offense to when I said they got Eurocentric calves. They're not supposed to jump that high. They said, fuck SWP. And then he went out there and, they jamming all over the place now. But anyway, I'm just saying, this is what goes on. But a lot of black folks, man, we get caught up in this in the trap, man. I just don't understand it. I do not understand it. But anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.